Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Professor.
Yes.
Okay, okay. We'll start in 1 minute. Michelle Catanova,
Hi.
how are you?
Good, thank God.
Oh my God.
I'm back.
Oh, how are you, Michelle?
Great.
How'd you do in the last class?
It was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna love this class. This is right up your alley. You're gonna like this class. This is good.
Looking forward to it.
This is good. I'm looking forward to having you here. Thank you.
Thanks.
She's in like 3 of my classes. Oh God. I don't know. I've seen a couple of other names there I recognize. All right. Good evening. Good evening, class. My name is Roland Michelle, Professor Roland Michelle. And hold off on these things on greetings. I'll come right back. You can do that. My name's Roland Michelle, Professor Roland Michelle. How are you, Aisha? And I just want you to know that I am a Queens College graduate, undergrad, and graduate. Um, I used to work for Citigroup. I worked for Citigroup for 33 years. I came into Queens College back in 1974. I was in Queens College and I did my undergrad and graduate. At one time, Queens College used to have a graduate program in the economics department. So that's how I got hooked back up here. This class is not a very difficult class. However, you have to stay on top of it. You have to really stay on top of it. Let me first show you something. You need to have, can you guys see this? Can everybody see this? Okay, you need to have one of these. Let me reply. Stop sending the chats. Say something. I prefer you talking. Here, I'm showing you the hold on 1 second. Let me bring it. All right, can you see it now? It's a BA2 plus calculator, and you need it.
You're not visible no more.
Okay, hold on. How about now?
Now we can see you.
Okay, this is what you need, a BA2 calculator. Okay, it's BA2 plus professional Texas Instrument. This is what I recommend. Okay, one of the problems that, Sohail, can you see it?
Yes, Professor, I can see you.
Okay.
Yeah, would any other financial calculator work, or just has to be this particular one?
No, what happens is this. I'm going to be frank and honest with you guys. Last semester, we had a lot of people who were complaining that during the exam, they were getting answers wrong based on the fact of the rounding, right? So let's say if I was grading the papers, it would be different, but I'm not the ones grading the papers. It's being done automatically when you purchase MyLab. Okay? I'm going to go over that in a second. When you purchase MyLab. So the rounding was causing a lot of problems, right? And in the real world, when you do work for a firm and you're working with a trader, whomever you're working with, and let's say that the answer to a question, the answer to a deal is 87.003. And you decide, yes, and you decide that you're not going to put the 0.003 because you're using the wrong calculator, the wrong formula. And this is a $600 million deal. Because in the real world, those are the kind of numbers that you're going to be dealing with. 300 million, 150 million, 700 million, 300 million. And when you multiply 0.003 by 300 million, and you come up, I think it was 90,000 or something like that, something really, really high. What happens is you're going to lose your job. Okay, in the real world, you're going to lose your job. And also in this class, when the rounding is off, I can't help you. Okay, I saw that, okay, you did try this and that, but the answer's wrong. The answer's wrong. And the way we're going to be, this class is going to be taught also is that we're going to go over and over the problems, right? Some things I have to teach you through a lecture. Other things we're going to delve right into the problems, right into the homework, right into the quiz. Some of you will get it faster than others, and some of you won't, right? I have a formula sheet. You're home, so you can use the formula sheet as you want. You do as you want, right? I strongly recommend you getting this calculator. And also what I do recommend, you guys can have your study groups. I'm all right with that, but your formula sheet. And when there's an exam, each question, the numbers are going to be different. So know the concept behind what you're going to be doing. Know the concept, right? Study groups are good. I'm okay with that. Study groups are good. But however, know the concept behind what you're going to be doing. Okay? So, as I said before, let me show you the syllabus. It's on schedule and syllabus on Blackboard. So you're going to need to buy, you go on my HTTP Finance MyLab, right? To buy, it's on Pearson.com, right? And this is my ID, 72138 for the class. And you get a 14-week-day trial. Now, I recommend getting the book. It's on e-text. You don't need the hard copy. Getting the e-text. So sometimes you need to go over certain problems, and you need to do it. So you need to go back and look at the chapters. It's the calculator that you need. It's the TI, Texas Instrument VA2 Plus is recommended. Okay? What I do is I assign the homework during the weekdays and the quiz during the weekend. For the homework, you have 2 tries to get the right answer for the quiz. You only have 1. And of course, some of you are going to do very well on the homework and also not so well, not as high as you can on the quiz. Some of you. Now, another thing that happens is that, hold on a second with the chat. Just hold on. Another thing that happens is there's a 90-minute limit, right? Quiz are done individually, doing them individually, and I am not, everything that you're going to get on the quiz will be on your exam. Similar questions, might be a little different, but they're going to be the same. No surprises. Whatever we go over. And one thing I want to stress to everyone also, some of you are going to get it faster than others. Some of you are going to get the work faster than another person or other classmates. Some of you are going to take time. So what I recommend is to go over the recordings that I've set, and then that way you can go over it. And if you need my help, you can meet me. I have office hours by appointment. I'll be more than happy to help you. So everybody here is an adult. I don't have to talk to you about cheating, even though you're not in the class. But when you cheat, you're only hurting yourself. All exams will be online, right? Homeworks, hold on a second, please. Homeworks on My Finance Lab is 10%. I put class participation and attendance at 10, but really it's 15 and 15 for quiz and participation, quiz and homework. Let me finish. So the midterm is 35 and the final exam is 35. Homework and class participation and quiz, you can take the class participation. It's like a, I would say for attendance, right? For instance, if you get a 78, I round it up to an 80 based on the fact that you are in class, right? Do not get ahead of yourself if you start doing well on the quiz, thinking that you got it, because when you're under pressure doing the exam, you will start to panic. So my advice to you is to take good notes and have your formulas down. Hold on a second. Have your formulas down, right? So that way you won't panic. Okay? Some of you I know, oh, I won't panic, this and that. You have no idea that when you're under the gun, things happen. Okay? So homework, I said it again, I'm going to say it one more time. Homework and quiz and homework, that class participation and attendance, I've added 15% for homework and 15% for quiz. So leave it like that. That's the way you got to look at it. Okay? We're going to cover 10 chapters. I'm going to try to cover 10 chapters with you guys. And we're going to go to the introduction, financial statement, time value of money 2, and interest rates. And then we stop, and then we take our midterm. Our midterm is going to be 25 questions, and all of them are going to be from the quiz that we've had, right? Similar questions, right? No surprises. And then after that, we go into bond valuation stock valuation, investment decision, fundamental of capital budgeting, and stock valuation again. Okay? All right, now, I know why I was getting these texts, because no one can see. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Professor, I have a question.
Okay.
The exams, our midterms and our final, are the questions multiple choice or are they short answers?
No, we don't have any multiple choice. Let me show you what they'll look like. Can you see this? Can
Yeah.
everybody see this? Okay. This will be like a question
Yeah.
on, and then you got to fill out what this is, right? So let's see what this one is saying. This one is saying you're offering 1,800, right? From 29 to 28. The marketing group estimate that this rebate will increase sales over the next year from 39. So here's one for you right now. 38,900 times 1,800 is what? Do it on your phone. You can do this one on your phone. 38,900 times 1,800. How much is that? Anybody?
7,020,000.
Can't be 7 million.
70
Seven-
million, sorry.
Oh, 7 million, 70 million, 20,000?
20,000.
Let's see. No,
I think it's 70,200,000.
no,
700, Professor.
no, wait. 70. Who said it's 70 million? Who said 70,200,000? Okay. Anyway, that's the way, I didn't have my calculator. That's the way that you're going to calculate these rebates, right? Hello? You guys got it? That's the way the
Yes.
exam is going to go. And now we would say the profit margin is going to be 5,380 times 55,000. That's the benefit of the rebate. Something like that. And then we will, there's the answer right here. So it's going to go something like that. And then we decide, then you see if it's beneficial, but we're going to go over all these things. Okay, we're going to go over them and over them. Okay? Please turn off
All
the
right.
mic. Yes, Krishna.
So Professor, when we log into my lab, it has
Uh-huh.
two different purchases, my lab homeworks and e-tax. What do we purchase with e-tax?
Yeah, purchase the e-text.
Okay, so that's $99, correct?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
Yes, that's what it shows. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Professor.
You're very welcome. Um, this class, I teach the class. I used to work on Wall Street. I worked for Citigroup for 33 years and 9 months. So I try to teach the class as to give you an insight in the real world, right? By the time you're done with this class, you'll know how to calculate a mortgage. You know how to calculate a lease car. You'll know how to calculate bonds. I've seen people come to Citigroup from an elite school and they didn't know how to calculate a bond. We'll know about a balance sheet. We'll know about depreciation. You're going to learn things that are going to be beneficial to you, especially when you join a company, right? And okay, and you're going to also be aware of things when you hear them on TV. You're going to know what they're talking about, right? So this class is a very good class, and I didn't see that. Hold on one second. I just got something on Pearson My Lab. Is it showing due dates for fourth semester? Fourth semester? No, you should be purchasing something that says spring. Hold on one second. It should look like this. This is what you're purchasing. And other people have bought it already, so I don't know what you, all right? It should look like this.
Oh, we don't see this. It shows something else.
Okay, well, it has to be this number and this right here, Michelle 72138. Okay?
Okay.
All right. All right, give me 1 second. Okay, so what we're going to talk about this whole class is about valuation principle connection, right? When you guys go work in a company, whether it's Citibank, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, whatever the company is, right? Amazon, Google, Apple, whatever the company is, whatever department that you go work in, I always like people to start, I always tell people to start as an analyst. When you work as an analyst, you see everything from the ground up, right? You see everything that happens from the ground up. The minute someone comes in with a proposition on a business deal, how they research the company to make sure what they're saying about themselves is really true. If they do, in fact, have these assets, the assets are not toxic. They have strong financial statements that can be backed up. They have strong inventory. They don't have a lot of debt. Even though having a lot of debt doesn't mean that you're a bad company, but it's sustainable. It's like, we go in before we start giving anybody our money, before we start making any investments, we want to make sure that we're here to make our company, bottom line, to make our company money. That's what it's all about. Okay? I don't care how you slice it. I don't care where it's coming from, this and that. Right now, just like with this pandemic, is to get the economy going, to make money, no matter how you look at it. Right? It's an unfortunate thing that there are a lot of sacrifices being made, but however, the bottom line is to get the economy going again, right? And the valuation principle is where we say, how much money are we going to get back from these deals once everything gets back to normal? And it will. And it will, right? When everything gets back to normal. And when you work for a company, we're going to have to make optimal decisions, meaning the best decisions for the company, right? And the net present value, which is what this whole course is all about, as far as like when you get to that point, the net present value. So the valuation principle, right? Account statements, is this company good? Is right now, I just saw that Jeff Bezos is stepping down. Now, a lot of times what happens is these guys don't feel challenged, right? And there's there's like a riff, I think, between him and Elon Musk. These guys have really big egos, right? About this space thing going on. I don't know if he's stepping down to show that he just didn't make it as an entrepreneur selling books and became a conglomerate that way. He wants to show that he's just as smart as Musk, right? I don't know if that's what's going on. But when you're on Wall Street, you're going to see what I'm talking about as far as egos are concerned. Or when you work for a bank, whatever, you're going to realize, hold on a second, you're going to realize that a lot of times these guys like to be challenged. They get bored, right? It's the same thing all the time. He has meetings, he has this and that. They get into this, they get into that. So he's stepping down, right? So someone else can take. And then what happens also, another tidbit that happens sometimes with, since he was the founder of the company, a lot of times the founders don't last because he wants to do certain things and the board, right, giving him a hard time. So he steps down, lets somebody else take over. And then also as an investor, sometimes you want a fresh pair of new eyes looking at certain things, right? Because I don't care who you are, you become a little stale, right? You need somebody to come in and say, okay, why don't we try it this way, right? There's nothing wrong with, I always stand corrected. I always, there's an old saying, right? You stop learning when you know everything, right? So if you see something that I've missed or you feel that it could be done better, let me know. I'm more than happy. My ego's not that big. I'm more than happy to listen. And it's always good to see something in a different light. All right. So when we talk about this valuation principle, right, it applies to everything that we do in this class, right? And that you're going to be doing when you step into the real world. Okay? So what finance does and is, is that it focuses on things that you're going to be needing, right? Why study finance, right? Right now, some of you are working. Some of you are working and some of you are not. So we're going to cover retirement accounts, perpetuities, annuities, and all that. We're going to cover all that in this, right? So you ask yourself, why study finance? You get a job right now, right? Once you get a job, we're going to get to where I was talking about the companies. You get a job and you start saying to yourself, how much do I save for retirement? We're going to get into that too in this class. Whether a car loan or lease to our advantage. We're going to get into that also. Whether a particular stock is a good investment. We're definitely going to touch on that. And how do we evaluate terms of a mortgage? We're definitely going to do that. So all these things, right, are going to come into this class. And our career path becomes less predictable, right? When I was starting out at Citigroup, people didn't move around as much, right? People didn't move around as much, right? People stay in one job and they stay there their whole career. Now, you know, when you saw a resume, I remember maybe 30, 35 years ago when I was, or maybe 30 years ago, if you saw someone that went somewhere 2 years and 4 years and 3 years, you didn't want to hire that person because you felt they didn't have any stability. Now it's the opposite. Now it's the opposite. You feel that this person is experienced because he's bouncing from place to place and he's picking up. But back in the old days, that didn't seem like a good idea, someone bouncing back and forth. Matter of fact, the resume didn't look good at all when they saw that you had like 4 jobs in the past 10 or 15 years, 4 different companies. Okay, you must have been doing something wrong. So some of the things that when you go into a company, when you start working, right, is should you launch a new product? Which supplier do you choose? Should your firm produce a part of the product or outsource it? My job was outsourced to India. That's why I was no longer working at Citigroup, right? My job moved to India. Should we issue new stocks or borrow the money instead, right? When you issue new shares, right? It's like almost like a loan, right? The difference between a bond and a share is that a share you buy part of the company, right? A bond is a loan. So if the company is going down under, let's say they're going out of business, the people who have the bonds are the first people that get paid back. The people who have shares are the last. Whatever's left over, that's what you get. Okay? So that's the difference. I'll give you something. We're going to move a little bit ahead. That's the difference between a bond and a stock share. A bond is a loan. It's an IOU. The shares that you're buying into the company. Even though the share pays more than the bond in the long run, but the bond is safer, right? So all these things you're going to learn about how to do them, right? You're going to learn about them. So the valuation principle also talks about things that I've seen on Wall Street, right? There's some people that were in my class before. I told them that when I first started at the bank back in '76, there weren't any computers. Zero. Everything was done manually. Think about that. Everything was done manually. So we would have a group of 30 or 40 people, and as we started being automated, it went down to 10 people, then 4 people, then 2 people, and still doing the same amount of work, even more now, and less errors. right? All these things I've seen, right? I've seen the crash of 2008. I've seen globalization of bonds. All these things I've experienced while I was on Wall Street, right? Where email was a big deal. Only higher ups had email. Think about that. Only higher ups had emails, right? Guys who were vice president. And I'm not talking about like now, a lot of guys are vice president. I'm talking about a regional guy. In those days, you had very few vice presidents. And email was like a big thing. Believe it. Believe what I tell you. So all these things were part of my growing up, seeing all these things happen. When the market crashed, I was there. When with the mortgage crash, I was there for the 9/11. I saw, I experienced that and what it did to, as far as like credit risk and things that happened on to World Trade Center, all these things. I've seen all that and went through all that. So we're going to talk about firms. There are 4 types of firms, right? When we study corporate finance, right? There are 4 types of firms. There are corporations, there are partnerships, limited companies, and sole proprietorships, right? Sole proprietorships would be your dry cleaners, would be your laundromat, right? Those are 71% of your hiring, right? However, corporations are like 17.8, right? But yet they bring the most money. So a way to see this in your neighborhood, right? You have a whole bunch of stores, this, that, and you have maybe 3 banks, 3 or 4 banks, right? And you're gonna have like 20 stores. So that accounts for that 4%. However, the bank makes more money than all those, right? Partnerships would be like a medical office, law firms, right? And you have limited liability companies. But the main thing here is this right here, sole proprietorship, right? As far as like the hiring. But the big thing about money making or your corporations, they make billions of dollars. They make billions. This country, the United States of America, and you heard it from me, is rich beyond comprehension. It's a very wealthy country. Very, very wealthy country. Yes. So a sole proprietorship is a business owned and run by one person, right? Sole proprietorship usually very small with few, if any, employees, right? Mom and pop owns the dry cleaners, right? Mom and pop owns the pharmacy, right? And it accounts for about 72% of all businesses, but they generate very little profit in respect to a bank or a conglomerate corporation like Goldman Sachs and those guys. Those guys make crazy, crazy money, right? So a sole proprietorship, right, it's very easy to set up, limited principal limitations, and right. The only thing is that if something happens, you're liable, right? You're liable, right? For most sole proprietorship advantage, right? At one point, it's hard to borrow money. conversion also, it's kind of tough when you're by yourself. The guy comes around and you need money to renovate, and they're telling you, well, we don't feel like you're generating enough. And, there are a lot of things that go on when you have a small business, right? There are a lot of things that go on, right? And you can be sued. So it's a lot involved. A partnership is a business owned and run by more than one owner. Key features: all partners are liable for firm's debt. That is, a lender can require any partner to repay all the firm's outstanding debt, right? So, and then one of the things about partnerships, right, is that sometimes there's always a thing about one partner thinking it's doing more than another. I'm just giving you little things, bits and pieces, right? And when one partner dies, what happens, right? So a limited partnership is a partnership with two kind of owners. You have general partners and limited partners, right? A limited partners have limited investment and limited liability, right? Limited, right? Limited partners, a general partner, the main guys, one of the main guys, right? You find that in law firms, right? They have a lot of these kind of things. And small law firms, right? So when something happens, you can like say, well, this guy is not really a full partner. He's not really, he's just a low-level lawyer. So he cannot be legally, how would I say this to you? He can be legally be sued, right? Then you have LLCs. Then what I really want to talk about is corporations. Now, corporations are artificial being, meaning it's something that doesn't really exist, just a name, but it's households that owns a corporation. You learn that in economics. Somebody owns it, the shareholders, right? And it's very difficult to get a corporation because there's a lot involved. There's a lot involved, right? You have to follow certain rules. You got to do this, you got to do that. The entities and the corporation. But once the corporation is set up, it's a serious conglomerate, right? That you can have unlimited owners, right? Unlimited owners. What's good about a corporation is that if I buy a share of Apple right now, if I buy a share of Apple and Apple is being sued by some employees or some firms who think that Apple's not hiring enough people with disabilities or enough women, right, to their company. So if Apple's being sued, if I own a share of Apple, I am not liable for anything. I am not liable. Just because I own the share, that doesn't mean I'm liable. That's Apple's business. That's their issue. That's their problem, right? That's a good thing about a corporation, right? I am not entitled. I am not involved in their lawsuits. However, what can happen is if Apple has to pay and has to liquidate shares to pay, my shares will lose value. But that's the end of it, right? So, yes, speak up. I can't see that. You have to speak up.
What's the difference between an LLC and a corporation?
Well, you have like a limited partnership, but without a general partner. It's like refers to limited liability. Limited liability. right? The LLC is relative new entity in the United States, right? So it's limited liability. A corporation, you're not liable for anything, okay? So like I said to you, if I buy a stock of Apple and Apple gets in trouble, I don't owe anything. That's Apple's business, okay?
Oh, thanks, got it.
So the thing too about ownership of a corporation, right? They can sell stocks, they can sell bonds the way they want to raise money. And also at the end, they give out dividend payments, which is profit that they've earned. Now, a lot of times what happens is when they pay out a dividend, let's say sometimes, I know you guys heard this many times, they beat earnings by 10 cents or 20 cents, right? And you're looking at yourself, you're saying, oh, that's nothing. But you got to understand they have millions and millions and millions of shares. So when they're separating this profit, right, it comes out to pennies. However, there are people who own major amount of shares. So they get a very good dividend payment. Companies own major shares of a company. So when a dividend payment comes out, a lot of times what they do, hold on a second, a lot of times what they do, they don't take the money, they say, buy me more shares. Yes, what was the question? Someone had a question? Right? Also, when you get a corporate dividend, you pay not only corporate taxes, but you also pay personal taxes on it in a corporate. Then you have C corporations, right? I'm sorry, S corporations, where you have to be a citizen of the United States. They can't have more than 100 owners and 100 owners or shareholders, and you only pay personal income tax on that, right? Those are very small, but we wanted to cover all these things. Another thing that we have to understand, right, is when we talk about you, the person you, and you guys, when you guys go and work for a firm, the most important thing the financial manager will make are investment decisions. That's the most important thing. The other two things here, financing decision, manager short-term cash needs, that's secondary, right? When you go into an investment, it's not like buying a pair of shoes and say, I can bring it back if I don't like it. When you make an investment, you're in it for a long term. This is why when a company is going to go into an investment, okay, when a financial manager decides it's who we're going to invest in, they have done their due diligence. They have researched this company or this investment over and over and over again before they sign off on it. Because sometimes when a bad decision is made, it's very hard to get out of. If you buy a building, right, if you buy a building, I remember when we bought, when I say we, when Citibank bought the building over at Long Island City. Everybody thought they were crazy to do it. It was the area used to be really bad. But what we didn't know on the hand that they were building the other areas, 10 block radius, they were getting ready to invest and gentrify the area. And now the area, Long Island City, is an amazing area to live in. At one time, it was the worst area of Queens, one of. So I guess they knew what they were doing. But when I worked at Citigroup, I used to hate being in Long Island City. If I, because we used to report to in Long Island City, I worked at 399 Park. I used to hate going to Long Island City if we had a meeting at night and it lasts to like 7:30, 8 o'clock, because the area was so bad, right? So when the most important thing is to make an investment decision. Please remember this and take this with you for life. Remember that. It's the investment decision. The other things come later. Now, one of the things that happens is that sometimes when you decide how you're going to finance your new investment, whether you're going to issue bonds, whether you're going to issue shares or other debt, or you're going to borrow, it's up to you. But when you make those decisions, you have to make sure that you're able to pay back in a crunch, right? You're able to pay back, right? And then the financial manager, right, also need to know about short-term cash, managing working capital, right? That's available because things happen. The other word that they use, happens? Well, that happens in real life. Nobody in their right mind, no one could have predicted what's happening now with the pandemic. Of course, there are pandemics. They always say we're going to have one. We have the flu, this and that. But no one would have predicted that it would be to this point. Now, if you're a company and you don't have what they call a nest, you have problems. Small businesses are suffering right now, especially restaurants and all that, because a lot of them don't have a nest like a corporation can, right? After 2008, a lot of businesses put money aside, put a lot of money aside. So in case something happens, and here it is right now, right? Things are going on, but you still have to pay people. You still have to get things done. You still have to move money around. You still have to pay your dividends, checks, this, whatever it is, right? So managing short-term cash is a necessity when you're in business. A necessity, right? Always have your little stash in business, especially banks. I remember Jamie Dimons, if I'm not correct, for what is it, Chase, right? JP Morgan Chase. They said they have over 300 and something $billion saved up on cash in reserves in case something happens, right? I never got to meet Jamie. He worked at, when we merged with Salomon Brothers, he had already left Salomon to go to Chase, right? And also the goal of financial manager, as I said before, is to make the firm money, period. Period. Don't let anybody tell you that, oh, he's this, he's that. No, he's there to make the firm money. If we invest in Apple, we invest in Google, bottom line is, are we going to make money off this? Right? Nobody goes into business to break even though sometimes, well, I'll talk about that later, about going into certain type of business just to have a foothold in it. But nobody goes into a business to break even or to lose money, right? Because it was an opportunity cost that I could have done something else with it. So nobody goes into business to break even. Everybody goes into business and invest to make money. Now, one of the things that happens is that you have what they call a board of directors, right? The board of directors is a group of guys, especially for a corporation, because you're holding public funds, right? The board of directors is there to ensure that the manager, the CEO, the one running the company, is doing what he has to do for the benefit, because he's the investment guy. That's what I'm talking about, for the benefit of the company and not benefiting himself, right? What do I mean by that? Sometimes CEOs tend to make decisions that will enhance their wealth, but not looking at the company's benefit. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. First, let me show you how the structure of the company works, right? You have the board of directors that are on top, the CEO who report, each one from the bottom reports to the one on top, right? The CEO, and then you have chief financial officer, chief operating officer, right? The controller, the treasurer, right? The accounting, the tax department, capital budgeting, risk management, and credit management. All these things are essential to run a company. The reason why they have so many layers, right, especially for a huge company, is to make sure to segregate the things that are going on and also for them to keep track. You can't have the guy who's handling receivables handling payables, right? That's where the controller will come in and says, no, he can't do that, right? I'm receiving money and I'm sending money. Definitely there's a problem there, right? Chief financial officer is in charge of seeing how things are going, right? The controller keeps track of what the accounting and tax department, right? The treasurer, the guy that's financing things, is the guy that decides the money that's going out for capital budgeting, risk management, taking chances on things that we know, we're going to take a little chance. Are we managing our risk? That money we have lent out to this group, we find out, oh my God, they're not doing well. Should we get our money back, or should we get some assets from them? So just in case they fold, we have something. I always tell my students, if a bank lends you $100 million, let's say you went to Citigroup and you're a company and you need to borrow $100 million. They will give you that $100 million, providing that you give them $500 million worth of assets. That way, if the assets don't do well, they can at least get 20 cents on the dollar and make up their 100 million. The bank does not do anything, or any firm, unless there's something in it for them. Remember that. So one of the problems is a corporation run by a management team separate from the owners. right? The way the owners make sure that their goals are met. And the way they do that is in the old days, what used to happen is a CEO would get paid with the shares of the company, and he can redeem them right away. Right away. So sometimes what would happen is the CEO would get into a bad investment, knowing that it's bad, but at that time it doesn't show as being bad. It shows as being bad 2 years later when he resigns and he's already cashed in on his shares. So the company's left with the problem. So now what they do is they tie their salary. They tie their salaries to their performance. And then you cannot redeem those stocks. You cannot redeem those stocks until 5 years later. So if you made a bad investment, it's definitely going to affect your bonus and everything else. And you might get fired. And you might get fired. Right? So that's the way that they do it. They tie their salaries, that's the agency problem, they tie their salaries to their the bonuses to the shares that they get. So that way they make sure that if they do invest in something, it's also benefiting the shareholders and them. When shareholders are not happy with a CEO, when shareholders are not happy with a CEO, they can have him removed. I'm not talking about someone who owns 10 shares of Disney. I'm talking about, for instance, like you have some of the guys from Saudi Arabia and all that. They own, not only them, but other companies, they own major shares of a corporation. They can get the CEO ousted by saying that if they don't get their game together, they're going to cash in their shares. And believe me, before that happens, they get rid of them. And they're dissatisfied. The shareholders are saying, well, we think we should make more profit and this and that in their investment. So the CEO's performance is very important, right? That's why when you see a CEO, if they get a CEO who's the type of guy that's like a hands-on and get things done, they go out and get this guy. The company's willing and ready to pay him top dollar because they know he knows what he's doing and the shareholders are happy. That's why sometimes too, when a CEO resigns, you see people start cashing in their shares because they're not sure about where the direction of the company is going to be going. All right. This is our first night, and I'm going to stop right here. Let me take attendance. Hold on 1 second. We still haven't perfected this on our, you can't believe I'm still doing this the old-fashioned way. Is it me or I recognize some of these names from previous classes? Hello?
Yes, you recognize our names.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. Because I see some names here. I said, I've seen these names before. Okay. All right. Well, that makes me feel good. Anyway, I will see you guys on Thursday. Please make sure that you purchase or get the free trial of, if you don't have the money now, get the free trial of Pearson My Lab under my name. And okay, Ashraf, yeah, okay. And so because I'm going to assign the first homework assignment on Thursday. All right, homework and quiz. Yes, Krishna.
Sorry, I have questions.
Okay.
I did sign into my lab, and when I'm seeing assignments and homework, so it says due September 2020.
No, don't worry about that. I got to change that.
Okay, so
All right.
you did not post nothing. So for
No,
this
I didn't post
today,
anything. Don't
we
worry
don't
about
have
that.
to do nothing, correct?
No.
Okay.
That's wrong. It's just a copied over.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Thank
Okay?
you. Yes,
All right.
thanks.
Okay. Yes, Soel.
Yeah, Professor, before you put something for us to do the homework, you will like do something like, practice, like show us how to do it.
100%.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. So I'll see you guys. Okay.
Thank you, Professor. Have a great night.
Okay. Bye,
Thank you,
Vito.
Professor.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the lecture.
Okay.
Have a good night, Professor.
You do the same.